with two quotes that are very dear to our revolution. One, if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its food on the tail of a mouse, and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. That's a direct quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu, South African and ANC veteran leader. Quote number two, I began the Cuban Revolution with 82 men. If I had to do it again, I will do it with 10 or 15, an absolute faith. It does not matter how small you are if you have faith and a plan of action. Direct quote from Cuban revolutionary leader, Comrade Fidel Castro. Tearing apart revolutionary leader, Comrade Fidel Castro's observation when the Cuban People's Revolution became successful, we can safely say that while he began the revolution with just 82 men, thousands, if not millions, joined along the way. The faint-hearted gave up even before the revolution picked steam. The crooks, traitors, and sellouts were bought over. They sold their consciences and turned against their own destinies to free their homeland, preferring slavery. Gangsters ganged up and made it a business and forgot about the suffering of the masses of their people. Many ridiculed patriots. Many called freedom fighters all sorts of names. An international conspiracy was engineered to brand them as terrorists, anti-peace, group of destroyers. But Comrade Fidel Castro as leader stayed the course. He carried the vision. It was a very clear and compelling vision. And those who were called to liberate homeland connected with the vision, gave up everything and focused on one goal and one goal only, the liberation of homeland. My fellow countrymen, dear Amabazonians, dear people, this is that hour for us. As I have always said, we know who is who in this revolution. We know those that stand for our people, our revolution, and our homeland. They have remained consistent. They have remained focused. They have remained loving and accommodating, even to those who need their flesh, who throw them to enemies to devour, who pray and probably conspire with the enemy to send them to the land of their ancestors. Even with all of these, they have given them love, acted for them, protected their own, and asked they be forgiven. For we truly aspire to be in a country where exemplary leadership moves beyond mere speeches and empty words, but is truly practiced, is auditable, and is result-driven. As I was reflecting on the struggles of our people in the homeland, all of them, as prisoners without a crime for just being Amabazonians, as I reflected on the pain of our IDPs, our refugees, our detained leaders and people in La Republic of Cameroon's filthy detention center, a sister from Momo County called, and in her own words she said, Mr. Secretary, I do not know if you talked to the president and all our other leaders and people in detention. If you do, please tell them, I am very sorry for all the bad things some terrible individuals in this revolution are doing against them, our revolution, our flag, and our nation. Tell them, we will never lose hope that we will push La Republic out of our land And that even if we are only 3 left, we will never disappoint them. One day, they shall be free, and we will celebrate our sacrifices and plan a great nation together. End of quotes. Comrades, this is one of the most genuine voices I've heard for long in this struggle. I lowered down my head and water dropped uncontrollably from my eyes through my cheeks. A majority of our people remain focused, honest, and very determined. With this kind of faith, no person born of a woman can stop our march into a free homeland, Amazonia. I tell you, my people, Boya is real. Our march is unstoppable. It is very convenient to be here every day speaking to you, especially if it's just to come and spread propaganda like some do. But I must tell you, my people, that there is more work to be done than talk. Talk is cheap. Our numbers of suffering people keep mounting in all fronts. That's not good news. It means only one thing to me, that all of us need to take collective responsibility and get to work as a collective. And yes, it's possible that we can be effective in all required fronts and reduce drastically the suffering of our masses. That must and should be our priority. Our revolutionary deputy leader, Vice President Comrade Daphne Yerima, has chosen the course of hard work. Less talk and more work. So much work is cooking behind the scenes. You have seen some results. More will come, but we will only have a little bit of comfort when, one, our boys are armed with the sophistication that deters La République Cameroon enemy forces from coming into our villages to loot, steal, maim, kill, adopt our people and burn down entire communities and villages. 2, our boys start conquering and holding territory where complete administration is transferred to the Amabazonian civilian population. When all kids of school-going age are back in class, hospital facilities functioning, and life returns back to normal, with law and order being number 1. 3, when we control the ground and then have reliable friends who begin the process of reconstructing our communities and facilities so that life can be bigger and better and our people are able to hope again. My dear people, this is why I joined this struggle to liberate homeland. I want to believe many of you joined this liberation struggle for exactly the same reason. In every struggle, the diaspora has been very instrumental in doing 3 things. Endlessly funding the resistance on the ground, internationalizing the struggle and getting the international community to stand with oppressed and suppressed people. Many of you in the diaspora have given up all of what you have, all of what you cherish, even your families, for the liberation of our people and homeland. There comes a time in the life of a freedom fighter when nothing again in the world matters except freedom, when not even your life matters, when not even death or imprisonment matters except the liberation of your people. To you listening to me who have passed that test, congratulations. The lives of our martyrs matter and they celebrate you. To all of you who have still been sitting on the fence, homeland is waiting. Homeland is calling. The blood of the massacre is calling. The pain of the homeless is waning. The suffering of our people in their millions on ground zero is begging you to stand up and defend homeland. The time is now, not tomorrow. What are you waiting for? Do you want to see us passing Mutengene with our flags of victory before you notice that sitting on the fence all along was unpatriotic, unrevolutionary, and a betrayal of the bright future you must fight to preserve for the generation yet unborn? Do take note that number 3 is diplomacy, knocking the right doors until we hurt. Fellow people, if you ever doubted the justness of our struggle, let me share with you our most recent victory stories. 1. Mr. Paul Biya, President of neighboring Republic of Cameroon, admits during the Paris Peace Summit of 11 to 13th November 2019, while being interviewed by Pan-Africanist leader Mo Ibrahim, that over 58 years his country, French Cameroon, colonial French Cameroon, has tried in vain to annex or assimilate the nation of Amazonia. All efforts have failed woefully. Our educational and legal systems cited as main impediments. With him now declaring the truth to the hearing of the whole world, it is now time for the people of Amazonia to speak. Mr. President of the Republic of Cameroon, your dream of a one and indivisible Cameroon is dirt and long buried. Be reminded that your attempted distortion of historical facts fall flat on the face the day you and your country are able to conquer all German Cameroon territories in Chad, the Central African Republic, and Congo, and make it a part of your one and indivisible French colonial Cameroon. Amazonia will be waiting for you to talk international law, talk facts and justice. In the meantime, we reiterate a call that Mr. Biya, you should respect Article 4B of the African Charter on the intangibility of frontiers inherited at independence by returning colonial French Cameroon reign to your borders acquired at independence on the 1st of January 1960 and leave Amazonia alone. That is the message that Vice President Daphne Yerima has sent to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. We have suffered enough. 2. Longtime serving diplomat of international repute, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Viktorovich Lavrov, in the same Paris Peace Summit, lamented the United Nations failed to complete the decolonization process in the mid-19th century and indicated the case of a people who remained colonized will be opened at the next United Nations session. Mr. Biya's annexation statements certainly triggered those frustrations. 3. Assistant Secretary of U.S. Department of State's Bureau of African Affairs, Tibonaki, as early as last week, at a diplomatic briefing, lamented that Mr. Paul Biya was being deceived by some of his top aides, that he can win Amazonia militarily in his senseless war. He gave the La Republic leader free advice that La Republic of Cameroon can never win Amazonia because the Amabazonian people's fight for dignity and the protection of their people, whom they brought into illegal union, was truly just. He regretted the so-called national dialogue by the Biya administration. He indicated it was unfortunate such a monologue was a smokescreen or whitewash, and that Mr. Biya had no choice but to talk to the people of Ambazonia through their authentic leaders, beginning with the Nera 10, and of course, the leader of the Nera 10 grouping and our revolution, President Sisiko Ayoktabe. Fellow countrymen, prisoners do not negotiate. La Republic cannot negotiate with us while our leaders and our people remain under illegal detention. We insist Sisiko Ayoktabe be freed. All our leaders be freed. All our people be freed. La Republic du Cameroon removes its army of occupation out of our land for negotiations to run. It is only when that is done that negotiations to facilitate the resolution of this conflict strictly in a foreign territory, neutral ground with credible, trusted, and unbiased mediators, facilitating the talks witnessed by other well-known key stakeholders like Britain, France, the US, Germany, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, just to name a few. Let me turn my attention then to the Swiss talks. The interim government will talk to any government, group of people, or organized formation that has a credible mandate and the will to end this senseless war that does so by respecting Amabazonians as a people. Expressly proves from onset it has a genuine mandate to be an unbiased referee, makes us certain beyond reasonable doubt that Fumbantu will not happen again under our watch, but that through their effort our people will be free. And last but not the least, guarantees international diplomatic protection for all participants and our leaders involved. That is the standard norm. That is something HG has not done. That is something Switzerland has not done. From a participant at the talks, Ambazonia is being played. Participants are not coordinated, do not seem to have held preparatory meetings before the talks, are not sound from a competency basis, given that some flying in to represent us have not even done basic research to understand the game of international conflict resolutions and negotiations. Vice President Daphne Yerima has this to say: Ambazonia belongs to all of us. None of us is more Ambazonian than the other. Let us understand what is at stake. We are dealing with the lives of 8 million Ambazonians. Let us all return to the table for the sake of Ambazonia. Suggest the names of Ambazonians and non-Ambazonians who will make our negotiation team A. Agree on a final list. Go out there to negotiate with Switzerland, HR, Canada, Germany, or any other country organization that puts its hands up to say, I want to help end the conflict. But do so as experts with a clear strategic plan and roadmap. So long as we have the right team and our non-negotiable terms are cast in stone, we will be ready to even negotiate with France, so long as the freedom of Ambazonia will not be traded for any compromises that does not put our people completely independent but keeps us under continuous colonial bondage or perpetual slavery. So to our dear people who went to Switzerland truly believing HD is the way, fighting amongst ourselves makes us weaker and gets the enemy to prevail over us. Let us return home, truly assess the state of things with HD, Switzerland, fortify our team and go out there, getting the world to know that the Albert Mukongs of our generation, the Kwame Nkrumahs of our generation, the Nelson Mandelas of Ambazonia have come with the full might, force, and will of their people, unshaken, unmoved, focused, and unrepentantly decisive and deliberate to let our people be set free at all costs. Dear people, while we focus on getting the international community to rise up from slumber and contribute efforts towards extinguishing the senseless war against peace-loving people, fund ground zero. Fund ground zero. Fund ground zero. Our boys are bleeding. Our people are bleeding. That is the only way to keep our communities protected. That is the only way to remind the Republic we have had enough. That is the only way to remind the international community to stop the hypocrisy and get colonial French Cameroon to respect international law and let our people go, including their glorified slaves. Dear people, fund ground zero. Fund ground zero. Fund ground zero. That is the only core that makes sense at this time. Not some craziness on social media in the names of fighting for internet power. Shame. As for elections, the people of Amazonia, once settled in Boya as a free people, will ask Amabazonians to drop their revolutionary hats and start political activity for those who want to go the political route. Only then will there be elections in the Federal Republic of Amazonia. All political activities and elections were banned in Amazonia, across Amazonia, in any way, shape, or form from 2017. Anyone still involved in political activities is immediately asked to desist from such acts with immediate effect. On that note, the IG would like to congratulate Honorable Agudumbaya of Donga Mantum County for pulling out of La Republic de Cameroon's election of shame, citing that it will be practically impossible to run election campaigns or elections in war-torn Amazonia. Refusing he will not walk on corpses to get elected as a representative of a people who never voted for him. To all others who have already followed his example for the sake of our people, you did the right thing. It is a monumental shame that the SDF, that many invested their whole lives, sacrificed their careers, and gave up everything hoping it was a democratic vehicle to effect change, has turned out to be a big-time scam, with candidates even imposed on the people from computer buttons. Our people have suffered enough. If you are silent in the face of murder, genocide, rape, you have taken the side of the oppressor because of blood money. Speak out. Amabazonians are waiting. Our solution to stop this madness lies in funding ground zero. Abed Mukom, Chief Ayamba, and their fellow patriotic lot are mourning in the ground in disbelief what the generation of sellouts and traitors have turned out to be. Ground zero is bleeding. The reason is we are not funding it enough. Over the last 3 months, we have been working day and night to make this plan a thing, or this pain a thing of the past. VP Comrade Daphne Yerima came and introduced amber bonds as the product that will make Boya visible and real. as the bridge to our freedom. Our constituencies within the interim government demanded more deeper vetting needed to be done to ensure that whoever gets appointed to head the project is honest, credible, competent, and patriotic to the core. I am happy to announce to you that on Monday, the 25th of November, 7 p.m. precisely, Vice President Daphne Yerima will be announcing the chairman of the Board of Governors of the Bank of Ambazonia. That is great news. Most constituencies have already deployed their Board of Governors representatives. That too will be announced. And if you haven't done yours yet, what are you waiting for? Let us move. Watch this space. We are going to unveil to you our massive final bond launch program beginning tomorrow. My Amber Bond, my freedom. It is time to own your space with a certificate as a freedom fighter for the liberation of Amazonia. Have you bought your Amber Bond? What are you waiting for? Own your Amber Bond with at least a $250 contribution to the struggle. Most of us can do it. Almost all Amabazonians who really want freedom can do this. What is interesting is that you can start investing towards your Amber Bond with just $1, $1 US. It is a simple two-step process. Do it right now. Go onto your phone, on your computer, to register as a bona fide Amabazonian who wants homeland to be free. Do take note, you can either provide your names or register anonymously, because some of you would want to keep yourself safe from the enemy. That is fine. What do? Type https //amberbondholders.com, holders with an S. Let me repeat that again. https // that's left, amberbondholders.com. You will enter some details, keep whatever you don't want in the system, but the system will then generate a unique number, a number that you and only you in this wide world would ever have. Save that number. Write it on a piece of paper and put it under your mattress. Put it in your phone. Put it in the banda, wherever. But that is your passport to freedom. So you can register now, even when you do not have money, to show that intention that you are willing to make sure that Ground Zero stops to suffer. Step number 2, click Buy Amber Bonds, and boom, there you are. You can begin to own a share of our true freedom by having a certificate in your name that while Ground Zero was bleeding, you were sacrificing. Buy your bond. Ground Zero will immediately feel your contribution. The Bank of Ambazonia has promised to deliver 3 things: responsibility, accountability, and transparency. Its leadership will be responsible, accountable, and transparent. Do it for Ground Zero. Fellow countrymen, we equally see a lot of schemes being run on the ground. We ask you to watch the space with regards to a certain form circulating from UNHCR. The interim government has not been informed of any such moves, and you must beware that with Mr. Bia's carnage and genocide on our people, your name might be collected for the slaughterhouse. This social media news of UNHCR collecting information from Amabazonians for whatever reason is very strange. The IG has not been approached and has not given permission for any UNHCR activities in our land. La Republic is surely collecting your information for election purposes. Do not share your information with anybody, because that is a risk, and this might likely just be a scam. On La Republic of Cameroon's continuous violation of international humanitarian law by invading refugee Amabazonian communities in Nigeria in a bid to poison our people or force them back to Amabazonia, where they can conveniently kill them under the disguise of war, we have taken appropriate steps to tell our people in Nigeria not to have anything to do with the La Republic consulate in Nigeria. And to any of you hearing this, who are to any of our people in the refugee camps in Nigeria, please tell them that La Republic is poison and they should have nothing to do with the occupier. We have also taken the necessary actions to stop their criminal activities legally. La Republic has no jurisdiction as well to try any of our people. The continuous detention of Mama Grace Mafuetem, the mother of Chris Arno and Phil Marshall, and their family members have been very unfortunate. We are very glad Mama Grace and Gladys Bisama, wife to Phil Marshall, have been released following the endless legal support. We particularly thank President Sisikwa Yoktabe in illegal detention and his legal team, who worked tirelessly to secure the release. We equally thank all donors who made it possible for us to provide the most basics to the legal fraternity that provided pro bono services. The facts are there for all to see. We will continue to fight until all Amabazonians illegally detained are released. Just please remember that when you attack one, you attack all. There shall be no rest until peace returns to all Amabazonians. Dear people, I would like to end tonight's broadcast by addressing two persons whom I refuse to call comrades because of their anti-revolutionary activities. These are the infamous Kometa Elvis and Sako Ikome. I have stayed quiet for too long, but must now declassify irrefutable facts, and I challenge anyone to prove me wrong. This is what Amabazonians had to say about the supposed installation of Samuel Sako. Our people said, "Waiting concern we if the people of Sako Republic, Maryland Republic, or Sako Kometa Comic Republic decide to install their leader." That is their own kind of revolution. Okay, so whether they're installing their His Excellency or Most High President at all costs, that's the problem. Serving as AVP under Sako, I want to submit that making a mistake in a revolution is not a problem if you own up to it and learn. Given that none of us went to a university to be prepared to run a successful revolution. The problem, and a very big one, is when you continue to scheme, to lie, to tear the house down using all sorts of divisive tactics. You continue to hire brainless surrogates to defend your illusionary power against all odds. While I will never join the crowd to declare any Amabazonian guilty beyond reasonable doubt, unless they are tried in a reputable court with factual information used. I want Amabazonians to know that the revolution had come to a standstill under Sako and needed to be saved because of the following things Sako was accused of strongly doing that diverted the revolution. Things Kometa Elvis supported. You have seen videos and audios, especially videos of Kometa. So yes, while I articulate the things Sako has done to destroy this revolution, I refuse to call Cometa Evis and Sako comrades. So what are the things, or some of them, that Sako did? One, the IG, which Sako had inherited after January 5th, after the abduction of our leaders, was heavily weakened and divided because of Sako's factionalism schemes, pitting one comrade in the house against another. He conveniently divided the House of County Reps into two, creating a rival faction called the House of Surrogate to defend his schemes. This was before Sako was asked to step down so that we could revamp the struggle. Sako fought against the APNC, a people's conference that was genuinely a product of some of the most patriotic Amabazonians with a clear mandate to attempt to achieve unity in the struggle while strengthening all IG institutions. Sako is charged as the one man who single-handedly and deliberately tore the IG into pieces before God brought to our attention the best news of the 21st century, that President Sisiko Ayoktabe, our revolutionary leader, the head of the Amabazonian revolution, and all other Nero 10 leaders were indeed alive. Only a witch can accuse the president of dividing the IG when he came out of incommunicado detention with news from Cometa Evis that all credible leaders, that the IG was now only, and all from Cometa Evis and all credible leaders, that the IG was not only a shadow of itself. Even with all the pressure that Sako be replaced, President Sisiko Ayoktabe believed that he could work out things with Sako and reposition the revolution. He walked through Sako to fix the broken pieces of the IG and make the IG great again. What did he get for begging that Sako's acting cabinet and the APNC sit down, talk like brothers and comrades, merge their two conferences, and choose one set of dates and one venue to hold the Unity Conference? What did he get? By asking then Communications Secretary Chris Ano to use his position and get SCBC and ABC to be merged together so that Amabazonian people have one official voice of the revolution. The Sako gang changed gear because their plan to seize and maintain power at all costs was about to be thrown into the dustbin. They went into the worst form of betrayal, blackmail, sabotage, and sacrilege. First, they said, after spending almost a year in incommunicado detention, the president is not able to think straight again. Really? What wickedness! Demons! Next, they said, he had been compromised by La République du Cameroon barely weeks before he was served a life sentence. Really? A compromised person served a life sentence barely weeks? After discovering the lie did not hold water, the group of criminals moved on with Plan 3. Let's lie his ruling from jail and impeach him. Only sick, brainless, and irrational fellows would believe such a filthy lie. How can you rule from jail with all the limitations? Or did the demons just have so much frustration that they were still alive, that they failed to start reasoning again? Any of you who has been supporting the President of Maryland Republic, you are morally very bankrupt. Go look into the mirror. It is a shame that you turn back against true bona fide Amabazonians, whose only crime is doing everything in their powers, even in detention under the worst conditions, to end your slavery. These are great Amabazonian professionals, doctors, professors with illustrious careers, who took the risk to fight for your freedom so that your children do not end up being slaves. Many of them had huge businesses that have crumbled. Their wives, their children are unable to touch their hands every morning. Your own brothers in detention for a crime they did not commit, and you demons, you have the audacity to sit in your filthy Zoom online meetings and plan demonic things against them. Woe betide, we assure you, you will have your day someday. Fellow comrades, Sako Ekome knows very well that he stands accused as being a man who lies with open eyes. I want to repeat that I've stayed quiet from when Sako, who had no powers to remove me from his assistant, who was even scared of doing that, who had to do that by wrongfully appointing a so-called vice president, who chose to be called acting vice president, who has just been renamed a vice president of Maryland Republic. This fellow, just to name some of his lies, this fellow lied that he has been supporting detainees. I want you to pick up your phone and call just 3 of our comrades. Call Comrade Mancho BBC, call Senator Penn Terence, call Comrade C. Conrad, move out of Kondenge, go to Boya, go to Bafusam, go to Douala. You will be shocked that Sako Ekome took a policy position that $1 of Amabazonian money will not be used to support lawyers who had to do the right thing to defend our comrades that were kidnapped by colonial French Cameroon. Sako's government abandoned Amabazonian detainees. They did not give them basics. The few that could get anything did it under a lot of pressure from us, like food sometimes. Kalesh Bongo is an example. Fellow comrades, this is one of the biggest sacrilege. When you are sentenced, you have a right to appeal. Sako Ekome did not release $1 for the appeal of our fellow compatriots. While Comrade Sisiku and the Nera 10 were in incommunicado detention, and you and I were scared they might have been killed. And some of you, morally bankrupt Amabazonians, you really think that's okay. Let me tell you this, God forbid, but if you ever find yourself in the shoes of our comrades that are illegally detained as we speak, Sisiku Ayoktabe is still in detention. Daphne Yerima, Milton Taka, and all patriots who stand with the IG, who stand with our leader, Sisiko Ayub Tabi, we will not abandon you. Number 3, Sako Ekome took a policy position that there is no need to support refugees. He abandoned our refugees to die. He abandoned our refugees to die. At the time, Sako said, the reason why we have to do this is to arm the boys so that our communities are not able to produce refugees again. The question is, how much arming did Sako Ekome ensure that our boys had? Just how much arming? Just how much arming? If only my trip to Boya went down to the boys, there might have been some irrationality there. So if the boys are not armed, refugees are not looked after, detainees are not looked after, IDPs are abandoned, and you still support a very irrational human being like that, truly, you must be morally very bankrupt. We've had enough of this rubbish. We have had enough of this rubbish. We truly have had enough of it. I want to tell Amazonians, revolutionaries are not politicians. And I know that as I speak truth to purpose, brainless surrogates, some of them call themselves activists. They don't even know women activists are. They're going to go to work. Let me tell you, slave, we will free Amazonia and free you from your slavery. And you will confess. But when you confessed, we will make sure you spend some time in jail. This revolution will be won by patriotic Amazonians. Amazonia will be free, whether your gang likes it or not. I came here tonight to speak to your gang, but most importantly to tell Amazonians, open your eyes. There's only one IG. There is only one IG. There are no two governments. Sako's acting government was dissolved. Chris Anu was supposed to stay on as Secretary of Communication. He turned down that appointment. Sako Ekome was supposed to drop down and act as deputy under Professor Anyangwe, where he can learn. He turned it, preferring to go scheming around for internet power. Shame. Fellow Amazonians, homeland will be free. Tell all traitors, tell all sellouts that revolutionaries will stop them. Amazonia is our land. One last advice from me on behalf of the interim government. Do not pay loyalty to anybody in this revolution. Pay loyalty to the nation and our flag. It is total independence. We will have it. We will have it. Oh, resistance forever. But because we know what we want and we know who we are, our freedom is unstoppable. God bless you. God bless Amazonia. Stay focused.
Amazonians, pledge our loyalty. Praises to our Savior who granted us our freedom. Our legends to the hero who bore the lonely Diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in our nation, flowing